Skill-based matchmaking is ruining video games. Right now, what you're seeing is skill-based matchmaking. Hard at work. I can tell which ones are rigged, and I can tell which ones I'm gonna lose, and I can tell which ones I'm gonna win. Mainly by my teammates. Like this guy walking around. This guy walking around is not a good sign. This is not a good sign. Just so everybody knows. So, like when I see stuff like that, even though I don't call it out or talk about it, I'm like, okay, this match probably isn't gonna go so well, right? Right? This is a good sign that you're probably gonna have a bad match. Here's the thing people don't understand about skill-based matchmaking. The noobs out there will say, well, you just don't want to play against people of your own skill. It's not true. I'm a competitive player. I love playing against people that are better than me so that I can beat them. And that's the thing that they don't understand. When an elite player talks about, I don't like skill-based matchmaking, it has nothing to do with you don't want to play against people that are better than you. Otherwise, they wouldn't enter tournaments. They wouldn't enter competitive modes. They wouldn't try to do hard shit. Right? That's not true. That's dumbassery speaking. The problem is with skill-based matchmaking is that it will always, at all times and every time, eventually f you over. Because what it does is it analyzes you, all right? If you had a job and you had a quota to meet at your job, right? And every time you met that quota, it went up another point, all right? Let's say you were at the donut factory and you had to make donuts, and on your first day, you had to make 10 donuts, and you're like, hey, this is easy, I can make 10 donuts. And then somebody who was responsible for making more donuts was like, oh, this donut quota is bullshit. And you're like, oh, how can you hate the donut quota? You only have to make 10. No, I'm at a higher rank than you. I have to make 175 donuts. Oh, that's your fault. You just don't want to make the donuts. No, that has nothing to do with it. It's an unfair ceiling. Because every day I have to make 175 donuts. Even if I'm sick, I have to make 175 donuts. You only have to make 10. It's a different perspective. And then eventually, the new player, the new donut maker is like, oh, I made my 10 donuts. And then Duncan's like, good job. You made your 10 donuts. You made your 10 donuts. All right, tomorrow we want you to make 15. And then that guy's like, oh, no sweat. It's easy. I can make the 15 donuts. This is baby. This is easy. Comes in. He could make 25, but he's like, you know what? I'm going to half-ass it. I'm going to make the 15 donuts. He makes the 15 donuts. Duncan's like, hey, good job. Now you got to make 20. Because every time you meet the quota, your skill goes up. That's skill-based matchmaking. It's always demanding you do better than your skill. And if you don't, you get in trouble. Right? And eventually, even new players will eventually get over by skill-based matchmaking. Because it's always expecting you to play your absolute best. Your skill. Skill is literally in the name. It's literally in the name. The only way skill-based matchmaking will not affect you is if you literally play like a degenerate and jump off the map every single game you play. Because even if you do good, even if you go against a bad team and you do good, that's gonna f you later. Because you did good. It analyzed your skill. It assessed you. It's the f***ing Matrix. And then on top of that, the other thing with skill-based matchmaking that people don't get, even if that was the end of it, the thing is that people don't get is that how can you rig games with a 50% win-loss ratio unless you know who's good and who's bad? If it was truly random, games couldn't do the 50% matchmaking because they wouldn't know. They wouldn't know this is a win and this is a loss. They wouldn't know that you're on a win streak and we got to give you tougher opponents. How would they know what opponents are tougher for you if they didn't evaluate every player's skill? So skill-based matchmaking is a whole ball of f***ery by developers to rig the game in their favor at the cost of a player's enjoyment. Period. And even if you don't mind skill-based matchmaking right now, the longer you play, the more it has to evaluate to then screw you over down the road. Period. That's skill-based matchmaking in a nutshell. And people don't get it. It's not about you want to play players that are less skilled than you. It has nothing to do with you. The flip side of it is even if I love playing highly skilled players and I'm just a nut job that just loves sweating my ass off every single minute of every single day, even if that was true. Let's say, I don't know, let's say I have friends that want to play with me. I know this is a foreign concept to developers out there, right? You sit there and you analyze code all day. You don't know what a friend is. We'll tell you the meaning of a friend later. But let's say I have friends that want to play with me and maybe they're not on my level. Guess what's going to happen to them? They're going to get put in my lobbies and they're not going to want to play with me. And then I'm going to be like you and I'm not going to have any friends anymore because they don't want to play with me. That's skill-based matchmaking for you. People just don't get it. It didn't used to be like that either.